99% of people do not like dealing with difficult conversations. They will avoid it at all costs. And so that's one of my biggest areas that I work with. But how do you get there? And how do you get there and feel safe in doing that? Because obviously a lot of people want the visibility, but they don't want to put themselves out there. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can get yourself out there.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, well, that brings us to the time in the evening where I get to introduce you to our guest speaker tonight. So her name is Tracy Tully. Anyone here know Tracy? Let's just see a show of hands of anyone that knows Tracy. Was she brand new to us all? All right, if she's brand new, you're in for a treat. She's not a shy wallflower. She is someone that is quite happy to speak her mind. She does speak her mind in the media. She is often in the news as well too. And I think she was voted the Courier Mail, which is a local paper on the Gold Coast, one of the top 50 most influential people. So she's got people in high media places there that love what she does. She's also got some people that don't like what she does as well too, which is a great thing because she's got such integrity. She really sort of calls people out on their on what they do, let's say. So there's no hiding with Tracy. But tonight she is going to be talking to us about conversational leadership, which I'm really interested in. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell her story because I know that she's going to do it a whole lot better than I will. So let's put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Tracy Tully.
Thank you, Nick. And hello, Paul. You haven't forgotten me, have you, Paul? Look, it's lovely to be here, and I've known Nick for a long time and thoroughly enjoy working with him at any opportunity or speaking to him. And I met the lovely Jen the other night at a book launch for Bob Play. So we struck up a conversation and I interviewed Jen and Nick asked me to interview tonight. So thank you. And I hope that I can impart lots of good juicy information to you. So I'm in the process of rebranding, and in my career, I've done a lot of things. And if you were to Google me, you would find all sorts of things in there. Right now, you may hear a horse snorting in the background right in front of all our racing stables. And I'm the security guard here on our block. So I'm a registered stable hand. So therefore, I'm in amongst it. And it's another one of my passions, horses. But tonight, we're talking about my new company that I'm building. It's called Shift and Lift Australia. And I've been sort of working under that banner for a while, just discreetly. People find me, so I use it. And that's because if employers want to shift their people on, as in sack them, or they want to lift their performance so they don't get sacked, they'll call me in and they'll ask me to work with their employees to either do one or the other, or obviously we always try the lift first, and then obviously if that's not going to work and the penny doesn't drop, then I start that process of the shift them out. So that's one part of what I do, and also I'm a volunteer in a voluntary capacity. I work with teachers and educators all over Australia and now internationally to help them with all sorts of things. But the main thing that comes up all the time is dealing with difficult conversations. It's my passion. I love it. I've been around for a long time. I've done a lot of things. I'm a whistleblower against corruption and fraud in the education department. And as Nick said, I've grown to develop a very strong skin, and there's very little that will influence me in a negative way. I really couldn't care less what people say about me. The way I operate, I'm going to absolutely draw negative people to me, and the haters come to me. They're usually pretty cautious because they probably, if they bother Googling me, they'll know that I'm on guard all the time, and that I'm not a sneeze. I won't hold back. So what I'm doing now is conversational leadership, and the rise of conversational leadership came across my desk when people kept saying to me, "You're in the media all the time, Tracy. Why don't you monetize it?" And I haven't. I've been in the media for a very long time, especially in the field of education, because I'm outspoken, but because also that there's not an educator in Australia who can legally speak out. So they have a code of conduct, every school, whether you're private or public, and they also have lots of policies against it for obvious reasons. Me, when I said farewell after 38 years to the Department of Education, I also gave my finger up to them with an email and said, "Come near me, touch my family, impinge on myself or what I say, and you'll feel the full wrath of what I'm capable of and what I've trained myself for." So they've stayed right away from me, as they should. But the reason that the media came to me, and this will interest you all because everybody is after visibility. So coming back to shift and lift and coming back to a conversational leadership, and I always talk in stories, so I'll be all over the place today trying to get this across. But the rise of it has started because of the silent cost of poor communication. So the communication crisis is costing Australian businesses millions. And all you have to do is open social media every day and listen to the politicians, and you can hear it and see the economy absolutely going downhill. So the poor communication is silently eroding the productivity, engagement, and profits of Australian workplaces. And from mismanaged meetings to avoided conversations, leaders are losing billions of dollars in wasted time, burnout, and talent turnover. And I first came across this in the education department as a principal. Wasted time in meetings and lots of meetings. But what can we do about it? Because 99% of people do not like dealing with difficult conversations. They will avoid it at all costs. And so that's one of my biggest areas that I work with. But how do you get there? And how do you get there and feel safe in doing that? Because obviously a lot of people want the visibility, but they don't want to put themselves out there. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can get yourself out there. So if you Google me, you'll see me come up pretty quickly across a whole range of interviews. And right now I'm hot, really hot, not in looks or figure. I'm hot because I opened my mouth on Saturday and I spoke what is my opinion and my belief on Channel 9. And I did that because that's what I do. And I was asked to come in for a second round of interviews around education and particularly the teachers' strikes. But I want to, before I go back to there and talk about that, I want to talk to you a little bit about your potential, every single person's potential. And it took me a long time to learn this, a very long time to learn this. So your potential should really terrify you, absolutely terrify you. Not because it's out of reach, it's not, but because it's there for the taking. And I just wonder how many people here have done just that. You've seen glimpses of yourself and what your capacities, your capability is. And in rare moments, you actually go all in. And deep down, you know what would happen if you stopped playing small and gave it everything you had. That's the scary part. Not failure, but in fact, that you're capable of so much more. It's like owning a Ferrari and refusing to take it out of first gear. For me, in the horse world, racing world, it's like going on track, you know, for your morning sprint, and you don't come out of that fast. You don't go into a fast gallop. You're holding back all the time because it's a little bit scary and you don't know what's going to happen. Every day you don't act on it, you feel it quietly, heavily, like a life you were supposed to live is waiting for you to show up. So everyone needs to show up. And I'm coming back into my story now. How did that happen for me? So for years and years and years as a principal, I spoke at a state level and nationally, and I was always invited to do it. It was free, obviously. And that's what I did. And I spoke both within my career and out of my career. And then when I decided to become a whistleblower and leave the Department of Education, I still did it for free. And so everyone would book me to speak, and I would speak. And I was able to speak without any qualms, really, of what was coming out of my mouth. Sometimes I surprised myself. But one day I decided to write an article and put it on my website, which I don't even know, it's still going, tracytully.com. It could be on there. But that particular article absolutely went all around Australia really quickly and overseas. And it had a very disruptive title. And the title of that article came about, I didn't even realize when I was doing it, but it was right in the period of time where Black Lives Matter. So we can all remember that period of time. And I had a title, and I can't even remember the article now, but it was something about the mob. And it was political. And whatever the title was, I'll think of shortly. But those two words, the mob, set off every journalist in Australia, and they all came knocking on the door, and they liked it because it was a disruptive article. So it was about education. It was about corruption, fraud, and education. I got invited to Egypt by the president to speak to women in Egypt about fraud and corruption in the Queensland Education Department. They were that interested in it. And at that stage, when I was there, they had just appointed their first two female Supreme Court judges. So I was terrified. But when you put yourself out there, when you actually work out how you can find your uniqueness and squeeze it out, that's when your visibility will change. And that means you have to step outside the square. And that's what I hope I'll be teaching you tonight. So that article went around everywhere, and I was invited by 2 universities to be their spokesperson for a brand new survey on principles in Australia. A fantastic survey on principles, the first of its kind, and really out there. And it was an honor for me. My name came out there, and when I started interviewing, I would always give points to the producers when they rang me. I would write an article on the spot and give points that I would like to speak about, and the journalists usually don't have any clue anything about education, and so they would take those points and re-interview them with me. So what I found was that I had to have a very disruptive title every time, a very, very disruptive title. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very exciting. And my audience at breakfast time or in the lounge room at night across Australia are parents, are educators, are people in lots and lots of different fields, but usually most of them are interested in the topic of education. So I had to garner interest really quickly, and I did have to disrupt. They'll either like what I say or they won't. And that's exactly what I'm about. I put out an opinion that will garner pros and cons, because that's how it should be in this world. Everyone should have a chance to say what they like to say if it's within your grasp. So the art of influence is very, very difficult, but I'm going to use now just quickly the weekend. So on the weekend, I spoke in education, and they're in their enterprise bargaining agreement. So the unions refused the government's offer. It's a brilliant offer. And the brilliant offer starts for beginner teachers getting paid $100,000 and principals getting paid over $200,000. There's lots and lots of goodies in there, incentive money, all sorts of grants, and just lots of good stuff that has never been offered before by any government. And of course, the union wants to strike, and they want to refuse it. They don't want the money. At the end of the day, as I said in the interview, I said I particularly picked principals because I'm an ex-principal, and I said that $200,000 plus for a principal, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Now I know exactly what that job entails, and I said, in all honesty, really, that's good money to take, to accept an offer of over $200,000 for a principal's position. That's a really good offer. And I said, they're not saving lives. And that did not go down too well, but it's true. It's fact. It's cogent. It's evidence. They are not saving lives. And whereas a doctor or someone, an anaesthetist or a specialist or someone or an ambulance person, they're saving lives. There's a lot of difference there. So a high wage is a good thing. And of course, I knew what I was saying. I knew it would cause hate speech, which it did. And a lot of teachers and principals are texting me and say, oh, they're all over you. They're trashing you on the social media. And I said, good, that's good. And it doesn't worry me in the slightest. It doesn't worry me for many reasons. One is I know my stuff. I know my information. I know what I can and can't do legally. And I know what I will and won't accept as in terms of my values and standards. So coming back to shift and lift and the rise of conversational leadership, if you want to make a difference, you have to step outside the square and you have to think of what is your unique folder that you'll put yourself in. I was asked so many times why I didn't monetize myself, the fact that I'm in the media. And then I decided one day, yeah, why aren't I doing it? And I said to one of the producers in Channel 9, I said, would you mind if I uploaded all my interviews onto YouTube? I'm going to do a YouTube very soon. I'll start it, called Australian Principal Reacts, and it's going to be reactive. He said, oh, go for it, Tracy, go for it. And so I've been talking with the media. And of course, that's what they want. They want something like that. And they can go back and read it and add it, and you can garner, information from other people. So I decided to package all that and make it into my job, my new job. So I'm just in the middle of that now. I haven't got a website yet. It will come up shortly. But with Shift and Lift, I can offer lots of different roles to do it. So I got a booking the other day where they want me to fly into their city and talk to their board and explain why they can't do what they're doing or say what they're saying during a board meeting. Very specific sort of information. So once again, everybody in here is an expert at what they do. But are you pushing yourself to the extreme? Are you pushing yourself to the horizon? And we know that from history that rivers change course. They have changed course. So we can too. We can change course. So if you know in your heart, in your soul, that you haven't pushed yourself as far as you can because you might be a little bit nervous, a little bit fearful of failure, a little bit worried that you don't want to come across there, you know that actually businesses won't employ you, I can assure you they will employ you. And, I had TAFE ring me for their state conference to speak at the state conference. And I said to them, you know who I am, don't you? You know what my education conversation is like. She said, yes, that's why we want you. And it was fantastic fun. So, 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been that. I wouldn't have been invited to speak. But people are now at that point where they want that because we are in a world where communication crisis, because of automation, we're in that era of automation. Conversation has become the human advantage. And we know, I love AI, and Nick and I were talking about AI earlier. We know AI is fantastic and it's fast and it suits his personality and my own, obviously, but it is extremely fast. And unless you are very, very good at absorbing that information, holding it, retaining it, and using it and spitting it out, it's not going to work for you. You still have to be able to do that yourself. So you have to train yourself to be able to speak on the spot really quickly, to be able to have an opinion, not to stuff up, and to make sure that you're legally correct. And you have to have confidence in yourself. So that's what else I do. I coach as a consultant in that area as well and help people to find their pitch, to step outside of that norm pitch and come out with something really snappy. And that's what I do as well. So the conversational leadership is about speaking to your employees or your teams in a way that you allow them to speak. So always we've had hierarchy. We've never had that connection where we sit back and let people talk. Certainly not in the public service, that's for sure. And probably a lot of corporates won't either. It's my way or the highway, very much so. So today I'm offering every single person who's registered in here tonight, I'm offering them a free 30-minute consultation with me to have a look at your pitch and see what I can do to help you with it, and to see if I can push the barrow for you push the needle, because if that's what you would like to do in your life and you haven't got the courage to do that, then I'll do that for you, because I can see everything from the outside. I call it my veranda view, so I can look down and see it quite easily, and I can pretty well read a map of what's going on and help you there. And I also know the media pretty well. You know, the Courier Mail. I've written many articles for the Courier Mail. I've spoken on Sky News. I've spoken with Russell Brand. I've spoken, that was funny, with Channel 9, Channel 7, Channel 10, ABC, and it goes on. So I pretty well know what to do, what to say, and what not to do. And I'm not a journalist, but I love speaking. And I liked one of those apps that you actually had listed there too, Nick. I wrote it down here somewhere. Here it is. What was it? The joint venture directory, and also the private LLM. So there's lots of things there. So that's what I'm going to offer today. Also, when Nick tells me and rings the bell and says I must zip my lips, I'm going to also offer 2 free books of my book Fearless. And that was my first non-fiction book, and I've come a long way since. But I'll give away 2 of those free as an ebook, obviously, so you can send it across really quickly. And let me see. And then there's another little gift in there that Nick will talk about later. So for visibility and for that media plan, what I'm planning on now, and I've just got to find where I put it, which is a little bit hilarious, not. I did have it here a minute ago, is a media pack with, this is what my business will eventually produce, a speech to teach you how to write a 6-minute speech, because they are the hardest. Believe it or not, they are the most difficult. A 6-minute speech, a media pack, and then obviously a 6-minute speech. Because I'm a writer, I can help you convert that to a chapter, and that chapter for you starts you off in your book writing journey, but also it's a free ebook that you can give out to your clients. So they're the sorts of things that lift your expertise and lift your visibility out there. But I'll also teach you how to, within your pitch, how to get to that point. So in Shift and Lift, there's four models. The first model is called the Shift model, and that's from fear to influence. And I feel really special that I'm a fair expert in this, because I've been pummeled around a lot in the public service, and I've kicked back at a huge cost to my health and my children. My son, when he was 10, was very badly bashed up. I was threatened with all sorts of things, and one of the threats was that they would bash up my kids. And so they did. They turned up there at his school that afternoon and bashed him up very badly. So for me, it was take no prisoners from that day on. And I made sure that Queensland Department of Education understood that, and anyone else understood it, that I don't, there's no turning back for me. So the shift model is from fear to influence. And the purpose of that is to show the internal transformation from fear to leadership impact. A lot of people say, oh, you can't unlearn fear. That's correct. Fear is part of you, and it's there for a reason. But I'm going to teach you how to sit in it and how to soak it up and not let it eat you away. Because our fear and anxiety will always attack your stomach first. The second model is the lift model. That's visibility in motion. So that's when you're speaking, when you're writing, and when you go into the media. And the message is about defining your identity and what you're actually going to market yourself as. So I wear a lot of red. I speak very quickly, and that's because I lived up in the Gulf of Carpentaria for way too long, over in Western Australia and the territory in Indigenous communities, and that's just come with me, and it's not something that's going away, I don't think. So when we look at the second model, which is the lift model, it's about visibility is a cycle, and it's not in a moment. And that's where a lot of people miss. The cycle of visibility keeps going. And for me, I can sit there and go, oh, I haven't had an interview with anyone at the moment. I don't get worried about it. I don't take it personally. I don't think, oh, I'm a failure. And I don't bother looking at my interviews again once I've done them. But it's cyclic, which means you have to stay in that headspace. If you want that life, if you yearn to be in the media, similar to how I am, you know, there's a price to pay for that, and you have to be willing to have that ride. It's not hard, it's fun. The third model is called the 3P model, and it's about profile, presence, and profit. And your profile is very, very important. Absolutely important. And your presence is important. How you walk into a room and whether people will stop and look at you and know who you are. And they'll, as I said, they'll either like you or they won't. And you can't let that worry you. I had a beautiful client who came to me quite a few years ago. She's an exceptional business person, absolutely exceptional business person, very, very, very successful over many businesses, bought and sold quite a few businesses, but she gets bullied a lot, absolutely bullied. And her online bullying's now moved to face-to-face. So she messaged me, and it was heartache for her. And she said the other day, what do I do? And I said, I'll just write you a cease and desist letter. Now, don't second think it, sign it and send it. I said, believe me, it's a safe letter. Just do it. And a lot of people won't do that. They won't do that. They want to be perfect. They want that perfectionism, and perfectionism's not going to work for anyone. So that model is when you lift your voice, everything else rises, and your profile, your presence, your profit. And your profile will rise with you when you lift your voice, and you have to have an opinion. You can't be afraid of opinion. And it doesn't matter what field you're in, whether you're in hairdressing, whether you're an accountant, whether you're in real estate, you must have an opinion, and you must set yourself apart from everyone else. You have to, because no one's going to listen to you if you don't. And you have to be a little bit edgy. You really do. So lifting your voice, everything else rises with you, including your own confidence. And the fourth model is the voice model, how visibility is built. And in any interview, I can change my voice from very slow to very fast, depending on what's going on, to soft, to very articulate, to blunt and brutal. And I can change it very, very quickly. And sometimes it'll actually change in its tenor as well. And so you need to learn how to do that. And I can teach you how to do that. So the voice model is about how you build visibility, how visibility is built, and your voice is actually your vehicle for visibility. Now, to take your business to the next level, you do need to have that visibility. You can't stay where you are if you want to get up to that next level. So how do I get invited to speak in Egypt for a president of a country I was terrified of, I must say, absolutely terrified the whole time I was there, but it was a good fear. It was a really good fear. And start moving from Australia out into international countries and speaking as well. Because every single person in this room has brilliant expertise, and they have a story and a message to give others. And you believe in it, and you know it's right. And if you don't, you get with it and get it right really quickly. Don't mess around. And if you have trouble doing that, give me a call with this offer I've got, and I'll help you sort that out really quickly, because I'm very blunt. And I'll tell you exactly if I think you're, pussyfooting around, or whether you should be going here, here, or here. And I'll give you the litmus test to say, yep, that's good. Go ahead with that. Exactly. So you'll get a media pack, and this is what I'll end up with in my course, the art of influence, and then I'm going to do some retreats. So I've been yabbering on. I haven't seen any questions. Nick, how do we do this? On the chat, or people are going to put their hand up, or?
Well, I reckon we can have some hands up, and we'll just sort of come off microphone. Let's have a conversation. Has anyone got anything to start us off with, or any questions there? Actually, I've got one I've got one to kick us off, and that really is about the media, because the media can be a frightening beast and an unknown beast. It's almost like you're on live, and they're out to get you and out to crucify. So I mean, that's a bit of the perception. So how much of that's true, and how important is it to be visible in media as opposed to just doing all of your stuff on social media?
Yeah. So I believe it's 100%. The needle will shift 100% if you can get yourself into television or the written print or articles, etc. And it's not as hard as people think either. A lot of people don't know how to do it. Just like you don't know how to market yourself internationally. A lot of people don't. How do I start with that? So that's a really good question. So I believe it's extremely important because you have a voice, but you also have a persona, which has a character. And I have people, every time I'm on TV, I get a flood of texts, or usually with a photo of me on it. And they'll go, "Oh, go, Tracy, I was waiting to you. I went hard then. And have you thought about this as well?" So I usually get it. So it never shocks me, never ceases to shock me where those messages come from all over Australia. All over Australia. And some people just come out of the blue. They find me very easily because I'm easy to find on, on my website. My phone number's everywhere, and I do that for a reason, because it's just easy. They can find me and they can message me, or they can call me and ask me questions. And I think a lot of people also, because I'm brazen and come across as very courageous, that doesn't mean I am, but I certainly come across like that. They trust me to ask me their dear questions, or ask me to represent them in certain areas. I think it's important, and it's not unachievable, and it's not good to be invisible. Not in business, not these days. Does that help, Nick?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So we've got
Awesome.
Azim.
Yep.
He's got his hand up.
Well, as soon as Tracy said the idea is not to be invisible, I stuck my hand up in the air. So
Good on you.
there you go. But first of all, thank you, Tracy, for a wonderful presentation and a very magnanimous offer there. When you're talking about having people like either want to support you or be against you, in your communication, are you actually, because you're polarizing them one way or the other, are you actually, whether outright or almost subconsciously, asking them to pick a side?
Am I purposely disrupting? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, it is, but in that disrupting, actually asking them to take a stand on one side or the other. I get
inviting. Yeah, I'm absolutely inviting people to take a side when I open my mouth. I know the power of everything I say, and I know my audience very well, and I know that they'll either go one way or the other. And the beauty is, the more that happens, the more other people without a voice, or who are too scared, especially in the education department, there's a lot of fear there, and they should have fear. It gets them to be a bit bolder. So yes, I do. I certainly do. And I always say, producer in the world of TV interviewing, the producer can ring me literally 3 hours before. So they could ring me at 3 or 4 a.m. and say, "Hey, Tracy, can you come on?" And I'll go, sure. Not driving into the studio, I'll have to be through Zoom. And they'll go, "This is what's in the news, blah, 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 blah. What's your take on it?" And I'll read it, and I'll talk to them, and I'll always say to them, "How hard do you want me to go?" Always. And they go, "Give it your best, go hard." And so they know after all these years that they've been interviewing, because they've all got files on me. Every producer's got files on me. And they know that legally they're always safe by saying that. They also know from previous interviews that all the producers have said that I stick to what I say, and I know that I produce for them lots of hits. Basically, people will watch it, and then they'll also follow up with comments, and they'll say to me, "They're not going to like this, Tracy, when you say this." I said, "That's right, yeah, but if you don't want me to say it, I won't." No, you go ahead. That's what media is all about, as we know. But the beauty about media is it must be honest, it must be true. I will never, ever, ever be told what to say in my area of expertise, ever. No one will get to do that to me. No one will dictate to me ever what I have to say. So I know it's not fake news. And I know I've got a lot of evidence behind it, and that's called cogent evidence. So I'm quite comfortable with disruption. That's what that's what media is about.
So essentially, they use you they rely on you to create that polarization, and therefore, and for the other people you're talking about, like in the education department, that first moment of polarization actually makes it safe for others to speak to.
Absolutely, you are 100% there. Well done.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Exactly, and that's what it's about. I always say I'll give voice to the voiceless. For a reason. I know teachers across Australia, doesn't matter where you are, which school you are, which organisation, with what sort of educator you are, you cannot speak. I can speak for you. And so I arrange lots of interviews with journalists, all anonymous, where I speak on their behalf, on a teacher's behalf, and it takes a lot of work to do so. And the journalist will never know who that person is because I protect that person. And the journalists are good with that. They know that that's what I will do. They will never try and push me. They will never ask me even twice or once. So
you're the speaker for the speechless.
Yeah. And someone has to do that. Really, someone has to do it. I pushed quite a few interviews ago. I pushed very hard. I hoped, like anything, it would get picked up by the government. And I said, so many teachers for decades and decades do school camps, and they never get paid for it. They never get paid. They're expected to work at night. They're expected to work on weekends. They never, ever get paid anything for it. But we have a high number of teachers who are women and single women with children. And so they've got to fork out all this money per night for the privilege of working, which they have to do, to go on a camp, which they love, but it costs them a fortune. And I threw it out there and I said, that is so wrong. That is just so wrong. Someone needs to do something about it. Now, that was picked up in the EBA and I was thrilled. Someone heard it, someone picked it up. And if that's the power I can have, then that's good. Another little incident was when I decided to dob our Director General in a big way, who refused me to close 2 schools in a flood situation, an emergency situation, because it was political. And so I reported that person, and from there came a lot. But by doing that, I put myself in the firing line of incredibly political henchmen and women. But by doing that, they changed the policy. And now all principals make the decision whether or not their school is shut. So lots of lives are being saved. And as far as I'm concerned, if that's the good stuff I do, that's what I do. Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy. I can see Dr. Christian's got his hand up, so I better move over because I think that hand Doctor's got is like pushing. So I'll get off the stage now. Thanks, Christian.
No, I'm not in a hurry at all. That was a fascinating question and a fascinating conversation. Tracy, thank you for being such a refreshing guest speaker. And I have this thing about bureaucracies. There's three factors are common to all bureaucracies. One is spectacular incompetence, systemic corruption, and superannuated self-interest. And I imagine that someone such as yourself would be really disruptive in those kinds of because they're self-perpetuating. And so having a voice like yours would be, I imagine, immensely threatening for a lot of the people, a lot of the leaders and I'll use the word advisedly, in those organisations. The giving voice to those who are in there is a really important thing, and I imagine that people really appreciate what you do and how you speak, but are too frightened to say, "Well done, Tracy." Do you find that happens to you?
Yeah. Of course it does. I was sitting outside a courthouse once. I was representing quite a large group of teachers, and it was a big courthouse in Brisbane there. And 3 ladies walked past, and they stopped and spun around. They said, "Oh, nothing." And they came over and grabbed me and hugged me, and they were crying because they had listened to these Zoom meetings I had done that I opened up to the public. And they felt like they were safe because of the instructions I gave them, what to do and how to do it, and what to say and what not to say, etc. So when you have something like that, it feels good. It's very rare that anyone will ever come up either to my face or on social media and slam me. Very, very rare. And I knew, I said to the producers, I said, this is going to be so hot when I speak on Saturday because that's what's going to happen. And I said, you'll have a lot of fun with this. He said, we might be having another interview later. And so am I at that point where I don't care? I absolutely don't care. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has the choice. So I'm always about choice. I mean, that's fortunately, Remembrance Day is poignant to me. It's my mother's birthday date, and all my family on every side, my ex-husband's side, were all military, every one of them. And so choice is something that we must have. We must always have choice and a voice, and we've lost it and we're losing it. So for me, my legacy when I lose this world is I've done the very best I can with the one instrument I've got that I can use. So I hope that answer some of your questions. If you've got more,
Yeah, no,
please.
thank you. No, that was delightful answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, you're there, Tracy.
Excellent.
Who's
Hi,
sorry?
Tracy. Paul Kennedy here. Can you hear us?
That
Yes,
would be
Paul.
Paul.
Paul, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. And I remember our earlier meetings.
Yes.
A couple of things, and both probably slightly provocative, but I know you'd like that. The first one is, just given your approach, do you feel that in fact the media use you to be their clickbait?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I
you're
have no
okay
qualms
with that?
Pardon?
You're okay with that?
Yep. May I ask you, Paul, why do you think I would not be okay with it?
Well, no, perhaps that leads into my second one, and that is, look, I'm a lot older than you are.
Maybe
And
not. Maybe not.
Well, you wear it better than I do. But anyway, I am on social media and I tend to be more of a stalker. I observe what others say and I learn so much from what others say about society. You and I are connected to 22, we have 22 mutual Facebook friends. And there are a few on there who are so provocative, I just would avoid commenting at all. And the reason for that is because I don't want to spend whatever remaining years I have of my life arguing with people who I either don't know and who are never going to change their opinion, and I'm not going to change mine. I should have prefaced that by saying I'm more than happy to stand up for my opinion and articulate it when I want to, but I don't go looking for it, whereas I kind of feel you actually go looking for it. Do you want to perhaps elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, I can. And I love your questions. There's lots in there. So I'll try to hang on to everything you've asked me. Number one, clickbait, definitely yes. And please pull me back around to that one. But I don't fight people. And I have a weapons license, and I have all sorts of things around my home that I can use if I have to and will. I have a voice, which is really powerful, and I will. I've been brought up in the bush. I've been a rodeo rider. I've brought up all my dogs to be ultra savage, and I've done a lot of things that the average person hasn't done. I've shot cattle from choppers, helicopters. I've done bull catching. It goes on and on, only because of the places I have lived in. So do I put myself out there now? Yes, because what I learnt, you wouldn't believe it, but I was very, very much an introvert when I was young, and I've become an extrovert now. But I have learnt the safety because my parents taught me well, especially my father. He was in Second World War, and he before I went off in my car with my savage dog and my 22, he would lecture me about what could or would happen and what I should do. And I'll give you one really quick every father's nightmare. I was traveling up into the Gulf. I left at night, so I got my job call late at night. I had a swag and I had a ute, and I was going to Burketown. So I had a long haul from Mount Isa at night to get to a job at Burketown, run a school there. And so what I would do halfway there is I would drive off the road and turn my car around so it was facing where I had to go. And then I roll my swag out, and my dog would sit on the tailgate of the car all night. And that's how I trained him. And I had a loaded weapon always with me, always loaded. You wouldn't say that now, obviously, and I don't have my weapon license. So you really, by going into the world of doing things that make you feel uncomfortable, you are inviting to yourself all sorts of manner of things that could hurt you in many ways. The best thing to do is to train yourself and rehearse very well how you cope with that. So that's my analogy for what comes next. So I have been in so many dangerous situations, not for trying, they just happened. And because of the places I lived in and the things I did, that I've rehearsed quite often of what not to do and what I could do. And I had a wonderful teacher, my father. So I have used that training in my life, those experiences, to board myself up, knowing that I must trust myself. No matter what situation I'm in, I must trust myself that I can get myself out. And if it comes to the point where I can't, where I absolutely can't, then that'll be the day I can't. And I accept that. I've had a wonderful life. So that's how I look at life. I will try anything and everything. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to jump out of a plane. I actually worked in a plane for a long time. I was in air surveillance, Coast Watch Patrol. And I nearly lost my life one day because we had 2 pilots. All our pilots were young, aerobatic instructors, really good pilots. And one of them decided one day, they did this quite often, that they would put the plane in a nosedive. So we were really high, tracking really high, put the plane in a nosedive, but they forgot that there was a pilot at the back, on the back seat, and he wasn't strapped in. He went flying forward and landed on the pilot and on the controls, and down she went. And you know that in the movies you hear that whining when the plane starts getting out of control? That was very loud in my ears. And it took a lot of us to pull him off her. She was a female pilot, and get that nose up. And it was probably the most fearful time of my life. And I sat back after it was all fixed and we were flying along and everyone was silent and white. And I just said, and I turned to her and I said, don't ever do that to me again. You want to stuff up and I did swear, if you want to stuff up your own life, sure, do it, but not mine. And so I'm not interested in ever jumping out of a plane, never will. I won't do it as a bucket list because it's cool or trendy. I just won't simply do it. I won't put myself in that situation. Next part of your question, Paul, is clickbait. Do I put myself out there as clickbait? I've never looked at it that way. I've never looked at myself as being used and abused. I certainly was as a principal in the Queensland Department of Education, used and abused to the nth degree. But for me now, I choose not to battle. I don't need to battle. I used to battle a lot when I was younger. When I was a principal, I was at a high enough level to see all the corruption and all the fraud you could imagine. So Jackie Trad had a meeting with me and she asked me to donate an amount of money to the Labor Party to shut me up. And in exchange, she would give me the top principal position in Brisbane. Now, I'm a bush girl, so I swear quite easily. I'm not going to do it here, with great respect to everyone. And I basically looked at her and I thought, you know, I'm at a phase in my life where I'm in control of this, not her. I'm not scared of her. So I gave her some choice words as was given to me. And I just said, why would I give you $20,000? You need to give me $20,000. There's no way in the world I'm going to give it to the Labor Party or any other party. No, I'm not taking your school. So shove it up your butt. So when you get to a point that you are involved with these really horrendous people and in these really horrendous situations, you've got a split-second decision of how you handle that. And how you handle that will determine how you negotiate and influence in a tough situation. And when you're in a tough situation, you really have to be able to be tough. And whether it's nice or not, we can't pussyfoot around. So clickbait, of course, that's what the media does. The media wants me to speak because I get them views and I give a story that they know is safe. Now, when I first started giving articles to the Courier Mail, they started getting very, very nervous of me. And I said, don't be nervous of me. They said, well, what evidence have you got? I said, I've got 17 pages of what's called cogent evidence, name, places, times, date, who said what said, that I sent to the CCC. And Jackie Trad's in there too, and so is the Premier and lots of other people. And I said, I've got that. I said, so come down to the car park with your people, your heads, and I'm going to let you read each one of these. I'm not giving it to you, and then I'm going to take it away. And, you know, if you trust me to speak, so be it. Boom. All of a sudden, they employed a number of lawyers, and I was in, and they used me a lot. And then one day I got really cheeky, and I said, I'm going to cut you a deal. Another car park talk. I'm going to cut you a deal. I learned to negotiate. You know, you learn to sort of sit on the line. People can say no. And I said, I'll give you this 17-page document because I know you want it. But in return, I want you to take down one person for me, and it has to be a story on the front page that I write. And they went, yeah, without even asking what it was about. I said, no, I mean it. I said, you can guarantee, I'll give you all the evidence. You can guarantee you'll find some of the evidence. You'll find the threads. I said, but you can guarantee you'll never get hurt by the story. I said, I want you to take that person down. They have hurt so many people. And when I told them, they said, done. Story went up really fast. Boom, took that person out. And that's how it should be. So that's the tricky end of what I do. And I work in the field of pedophiles too. And that's not for the faint-hearted. So I've worked with Task Force Argus, and I still do. And I have a good hit list. So a win for who goes into jail. That's part I do, is I don't get paid for that. That's something child protection is something that's really, really, really big for me. So you have to be brave and courageous to do that. It's really dangerous stuff, but you just have to. And you get to a point in your life where you say, either you're going to do that or not. Now, probably everyone in this room said, God, no, we're not going to do that. And we don't even want to talk about that. And I had a veteran said to me, oh, don't raise that conversation, Trace. That's not a topic. And I said, yes, it is a topic, actually, because I actually think that a lot of wounded military veterans who are young and still wanting to serve their country would be perfect at that. Absolutely perfect. And that's a different world for me. So clickbait, yeah, I invite that. I do invite that. If I know it's for good, and if they use me, of course they use me. I let them use me. I let people use me if I want them to use me. Use me is a terrible name. It's not a good name. To use my influence and my voice, absolutely. To use the word clickbait, no, I find that derogatory. I hope that helps.
Yeah, well, I do too. But in fact, you and I both know that's how the media operates. And I just think you have to be very careful that you aren't being used. I love your honesty, by the way. I'm more than happy to stand up and take an opinion and express it, and I'm quite happy to do it. And I do it when I feel a need for either myself, my family, people I love, or something I believe in. But I don't feel a need to go looking for it. So look, anyway, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure. Thank you. So is there anyone else?
Tracy,
Yes.
yes. Hi, my name's Michelle. I see you're very brave for you. How do you protect your family? How do you protect your family from the consequences of your bravery and your outspokenness?
Beautiful question, Michelle. And I've suffered, and whoever wins this book tonight in the roll the dice, whatever, will read about it in my first chapter. It came to a point where, and a lot of people say to me, would you do the same thing again now? For what you know and what's happened to you and your family and your marriage, would you do the same thing again? And I'd say yes, I do. I was brought up by a very, very strict disciplinarian father who was in the Air Force for the Second World War. At the end of the Second World War, he retrained and became a doctor. And I used to fly with him all the time because he decided to be a flying doctor. And so he was my lead mentor, and he was tough, really, really tough. So protecting my family knew at all times what I was doing. I would consult with them, and I certainly didn't ever want my children hurt. My children were bullied long before I started on this line of work. My children were bullied badly because I was a principal. I was in a very male-oriented community. The women, oh my gosh, you can't be a female principal, says whom. And of course, my kids were beautiful, soft, gentle kids, and I didn't want them to be anything else. And they were picked on. My daughter verbally bullied, but my son, sadly for him, he was both verbally and physically abused. I sent him to boarding school very, very young. And actually my son, after that incident where he was bashed very badly by 2 carloads of school kids and parents from my high school, he actually said to me, Mum, he was in grade 5, he was in term 3, he said, I don't ever want to come back to school here. I want to go to boarding school straight away. And I said, yep.
Oh, we've got a frozen connection, I think. Just so Tracy was getting into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Come on, Paul. You just stand up and fight the tigers, couldn't you?
Yeah, the internet has silenced them.
Well, we could say that was the internet, or maybe there were some other forces in there that have decided that's enough.
And then the thing is that if you're loud enough out in the world, that can actually protect you to a certain degree, can't it? Because then all of a sudden, where's Tracy gone type thing,
Yeah. And I've known Tracy for quite some time, and she's been very outspoken. I mean, who here would have the courage to be as outspoken as she is on some of those issues or on any issue? So So I think she's just one of those people that's a rare breed that really can speak out. And many times that I've sort of come across her, like we just keep crossing paths. It often is in the point that she's speaking out. And I think with media as well, if you are bland and you don't have a position or a point of view, or you're not polarizing, and you don't have to be terribly polarizing, but there's nothing for them to report. So really what they report is when you do have a position and you're able to confidently state it as well too. And I know that, I've often had this in business sort of thinking, well, what have I got to contribute? All I am is a digital marketer, or in the digital marketing space. There's lots of them around, but it really is about picking your position and sticking to it. And it doesn't have to be in what you're doing as well too. I know I've been in the media a number of times as well, and oftentimes it hasn't been around my business. It's been about some of my personal views and personal opinions. So yeah, if you Google it, you'll find it. But those stories can often lead you or lead people to you, and often can be helpful for you in business and in other areas in life as well too. Sorry, Dr. Chris, it looked like you're about to say something.
No, well, it's an interesting conversation all around about the media. I mean, my observation of the media is pretty bloody conservative. So it's safer for them to get someone like Tracy to say what she says, because they can say, well, it's not us, it's someone's opinion, and that's a dangerous thing, because it's the media's job to question. It's the media's job to hold people to account, but they don't anymore. I mean, I don't know whether people share that opinion or not, but because the media is so conservative, it suits them, I'm sure, to have someone like Tracy. She's back. Someone like Tracy to say what she thinks, because we're all thinking it as well, but the media and most of us are too frightened to say it.
Well, you find
yes, and
a fine example would be someone like Trump, isn't it? A fine example.
Yeah.
And where he stood his ground and all that type of thing. So even though it's brutal, political realm, I know we only have basically two parties here, but it's very split there. They just about want to get your shotgun out and shoot each other, because obviously you can have one.
Yeah.
In America, isn't it? So, but it just stood the ground, and now people have a voice to actually speak, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, before everyone was getting shut down, you can't say anything.
Yeah.
Politically correctness would be the dirtiest word that you could ever imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, but
And I think that's a really
no
good,
politician wants to talk against him now as a Republican, even though he's contravening their constitution.
Yeah.
But whether you love them or not, I think sort of one thing is true, is that without getting into any political discussion here, they could go a whole different avenue. One thing is true is that when you speak what you believe, then people are attracted to you or they are repelled from you, both ways. But you can't deny that he, for all of that there, that's what rocketed him into power. It was the fact that he stood up and he spoke for people, and people either aligned with him or they didn't. And I think that's the same for Tracy. I think Tracy's sort of probably got a bit more chutzpah than Trump, but she's out there sort of in the media sort of fairly regularly. But sensational session. Sorry, we lost you there, Tracy.
Nick, I can't believe you just missed the opportunity for the first brawl on Zoom. You nearly had us all going there, whether we were for Trump, against Trump, and you wimped out. I cannot believe you did that. We could have had a Zoom brawl.
Yeah, but that's why I bring up Trump, because that stirs up the room every single time. It's exciting.
You're a troublemaker,
I'm a big
David.
stirrer. You know me. I'm Mr. Fish the Stirrer.
What do you think this is, entertainment?
Of course it's entertainment. Let's have some more fun on business. Yep.
Yeah. I just wrote in the chat that my first disruptive article, I couldn't remember what it's called, the title, it was Muzzle the Mob. And of course, everyone saw Mob and thought it was about Black Lives Matter. And that one jettisoned me everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So that's a simple, for me, that was a simple thing. The article was really, really good. It was wholesome. It was honest. It was a little bit disruptive. And I purposely built that, created that title. But that was what started me. And believe me, journalists watch people, and your keywords, If you're into SEO, those keywords will shine, believe it or not. And Nick, you know that. And so Muzzle the Mob, that was prime, absolutely prime time. The day that I was put up on Russell Brand's podcast, my face was all over the place. All the lawyers in my office absolutely went berserk. I can't remember the number of hundreds of thousands that saw that viewed that. And I had my book up for free for that week, sadly for me. And 15,000 people got my book, my ebook. And I lost that money. Even if I had $1, I would have made 15 grand for that. I couldn't believe it, but that was funny for me. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You've got to put yourself out there, but be safe.
So isn't that a great lesson on those there that want to know how to get onto other people's podcasts, how to be so recognized, highly visible? Russell Brand, it couldn't get more visible than that in terms of a podcast host, and more controversial as well too. So fabulous. What a great session. Really enjoyed that, Tracy. Appreciate you coming on tonight. Now we do have, actually let's give Tracy a round of applause for everything she shared tonight. It's certainly been sensational. There was no holding back there. So you do have a gift for everyone tonight. Do you want to just tell us what that is?
Yeah. So what I did was I created some cards for you all. A leadership conversation pack, a deck. And so I've sent that to Nick and he'll send it all out to you. So it's a PDF and it's got 50 cards, the narrative of 50 cards on it. And it's very corporate, it's very low key. If I was doing this for me, you can bet your bottom dollar they'd be way juicier than these. But this is good for you to get started. So you can make your own deck, and there's a sample card in there that Nick will send you to, so you can have a look at how to put them together, and you can use them. They're free. I gift them to you. You can sell them, you can give them away. I don't care what you do with them, but they're yours to use. And it's a leadership conversations deck. And the only way you can start conversations is to sit outside the square and get used to having the courage to get used to the hard conversations is the big one. So that's certainly one of the gifts I gave today, the leadership conversations deck. The other one was for everyone registered in this group tonight. I will give you a complimentary 30-minute consultation with me if you would like. And then the other one is you're going to spin the wheel, I think, Nick, for the Fearless.
We are going to spin the wheel, and I should say, everybody that's on here tonight, there is an email that will come out to you in about an hour's time. It's all automated, of course, it's sort of sending out, but what we've got in there is that gift that Tracy has given us, the conversations pack there. So just keep an eye out for the email. It will be coming to you tonight. And yes, we do have the Wheel of Names. So what is the gift for our Wheel of Names, Tracy?
The ebook.
So the book, Fearless, you definitely want to read this. Tracy just sort of scratched the surface of what she's spoken about in this book. So it's a real eye-opener. All right, well, let's bring up our Wheel of Names. And everybody's name is in it. You need to be in the room to win, so don't disappear right now. And let's spin the wheel and see who our lucky winner is tonight. All right, round it goes. And a virtual drum roll. See who our lucky winner is tonight. And it is Wesley Chan. Are you still here, Wesley? I'm just having a look through the names here. Wesley might not be here, so it means we get to try it back in for a second draw. No, Wesley has disappeared. So we are still in the running. Hold on to your seats while we spin the wheel again. All right, round it goes. And for the business disruptor himself, Azim, you are the lucky winner tonight. Is Azim still here?
I'm here. What are you talking about? Am I?
There you are.
I never left. Goodness sake.
Oh, well done. Well, I think you'll enjoy the read. It is very good. So yeah, well
I think
done.
I must be at the top of your prize-winning leaderboard, Nick. I've won
Do
three.
you think you have?
It's rigged.
I've won 3 of your guest prizes now.
Well, it could be between you and David Fisher and Paul Kennedy.
I
The
think we
three
need
of
to
you have probably taken out between you the most prizes. I don't know what you do on the show, but somehow.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank you, Tracy.
You can
Fabulous.
do it again.
All right. Well,
Do you want to give a second one away?
one more time. Oh, there's a second one. All right. So stick around. There is one more. Let's bring up that wheel of names again. Hope you haven't thrown it off. Here we go. All right. Second spin. Next book. See who is the winner here. Oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be David Fisher, but Dr.
Wow.
Chris, this
Excellent.
one's
Thank
yours.
you. Fantastic. Thanks very much.
Fabulous. Excellent. All right. Well, that was worth sticking around for, wasn't it? I could see you were itching to get away for dinner. All right. Well, look, thank you once again, Tracy, for an excellent evening, a great conversation, and some inspiring thoughts, I think, to take away with us. If you've enjoyed the conversation, or you think someone else should actually participate in this as well, it will be up on the Smash Go YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. We'll drop the links for that into chat. If you're not a subscriber there, go and click subscribe. When you hit the subscribe, there's a little bell next to it. If you click the bell, then you'll get a notification as soon as it is up on the channel. So feel free to share it if you know anyone else that would be interested in that as well. Remember also, they've got the email coming out tonight. Definitely recommend grabbing the attachment we've got in it, or the document in it, which is those cards that Tracy spoke about. I read through some of them today and thought these are brilliant. So that's a really good conversation starters in there. So that is our show for tonight. Thank you, Tracy, for coming to share so generously with us. Thank you, everyone, for coming along tonight and being part of it. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a good night. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.